Hello YouTube, this is Isaac the Red of Red Mage Gaming. As you can see, this is RPGMaker MV version 1.3.0, the long-awaited 1.3 update. With this update, we've got a few new features and a few fixes for a couple of the old problems. One of the most anticipated and waited for features, of course, is the update to Pixie.js version 4. This should give us a little bit of a more smooth and less problematic experience when playing RPG Maker MV games. Hopefully, we'll take care of some of the memory leaks that were occurring due to the nature of how it was processing the graphics, and not releasing and unloading graphics from memory and just continuing to load the graphics and audio into memory every time it went to play something. So hopefully some of that has been fixed. I have only had a little while to really play with this since the update, so I can't pass judgment on whether that's been fixed or not. This is the update in which we've added some great new features. One of the ones that I myself have been looking forward to is the encryption. Now, when you go to deploy your game or your demo, all of that, you have the option to encrypt the image and audio files. So you say you're planning on deploying to Windows, you want to encrypt your image and encrypt your audio, and you want to give it an encryption key. Hello world, this is my new game. It's like the worst encryption key ever, but you get the point. Get in there and make yourself a strong encryption key, and now you have a layer of protection on your demo, on your released game, yada yada, that the base application of RPG Maker MV did not offer before. So this is a great new feature. I myself will definitely be taking advantage of it because, well, why not? If I'm going to put my own custom work in here and plan on selling a game, I would really like it to be at least have the minimum level of protection that I can get on it, while I research into better methods. The splash screen plugin, I know there have been plugins out there already since the release of MV that give you the ability to in essence make your own splash screens before the title screen. I know RPGMaker has the pre-title events plugin, which lets you load up a map and load up and have the events on that map run to basically give you a nice a starting cinematic, a splash screen, really whatever you want to do with that. It lets you load directly into a map before going to the start screen, which is fantastic. It's a great plugin, and I've seen people use it all the time. But if all you're looking to do is to add a splash screen, a new plugin comes in. It's turned on by default, and it's called the Made in MV plugin. And all it really adds to the game is this splash screen of MV, and then you go to your title screen. And no major thing there. Just bam, and you're good to go. It is slightly customizable. A little bit of customization options here. You can change what the Made with MV image is. You can tell it to pick a different image. So if you want to customize the Made with MV image, or just have a second splash image of your own stuff, go ahead and do that. And it has a second splash image here where you put a custom image, so your little indie dev team or your own personal logo, however you want to put that. And now you have a spot to very easily, without hunting for extra plugins elsewhere, now users have a quick way to put their own seal on their games. So it's a nice little added feature, I think. Continuing on, we have a new option for the object selector. Now, if you make bigger games and you find out that you have, close to the limit on items, like you can have 2,000 items in MV, that's a lot of items. But, say you're one of those people that really want to push that limit and really go all out and make 2,000 items. Scrolling through that in a drop-down list is insane. So we now have the option. We have a new option for the object selector. You can find it under options here. You set it over to extended. And your basic option is the drop-down. Now we have the extended and smart. Now smart, I see. I'm not really sure how that works. From what I noticed, it didn't really do anything other than anything different than drop-down. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. But the extended menu now lets you go through options. Say for this page to work, for this event to do anything, you need to have a specific item in your list. Now you can select the item out of your items database the same way you would select a variable or a switch from the database. So you have a much more finer level of control. Maybe not a finer level of control, but an easier way to select items. And if the item you're looking for has an ID of 500, well, rather than scrolling through that list to get to ID 500, well, here you go. Broken into groups of 20. Boom, bam, down to 500. Awesome. Now you don't have to worry about it. Now it's a really quick, easy, intuitive way to find the item. So that's going to be that's a major one that I'm going to really be gunning on myself. Steam Workshop. I myself don't really use it, and I know all of you who use the non-Steam version of MV aren't really going to care about this, but officially with the 1.3 update, we now have the Steam Workshop as part of the software itself. Let me get out of that. Over here, we got Steam Management. And here it is. Those of you who use RPGMaker VX Ace on Steam should be familiar with this layout. And this is a way for you to upload your projects into Steam or upload a single graphic onto Steam. Upload your resources to share with other users. And it's a nice feature for people who are part of the RPGMaker Steam community. I myself am very quiet in the Steam community. I occasionally will answer questions on the discussion boards, and even more rarely than that, I might ask a question. But other than that, I tend to stay away from the Steam community myself. Personal decision. I think people can be a little bit animalistic there, and a little bit elitist, and a little bit bad part of the community sometimes. I don't want to offend anybody if you are a major part. If you are very active in that community, and if you're offended by that, I'm sorry. That's just my previous experience has kind of tainted my view on that. I don't have a very great view of the Steam community sometimes. Though I have met some really good people through Steam and some really great gamers. So maybe I'm just very overly critical about it. But this is actually a really awesome feature, especially since people can upload their demos into the Steam Workshop and other people can download their demos and play them. I mean, no longer do you really have to have your own little corner of the internet to share your work with other RPG Maker enthusiasts. You can now do it from there. Of course, this will only be beneficial to people who own RPG Maker MV. If you're looking to distribute your demo for anybody to play, you're still going to want to find some place to host it, or share it from your Dropbox or from your OneDrive, or all of that. Or if you have your own website, share it from there. You're still going to want a place to share it if you're looking to actually distribute your game to people who otherwise don't use RPG Maker. On that, the event editor now has the feature of being able to copy its contents as text or HTML. So if you set up an event and you want to share how you set up that event, well, now you can copy and paste it as plain text, or as an HTML script for people to see and look at. Which, hey, for people out there making tutorials, for the eventers out there who want to share their eventing knowledge, here's a great new way for you to set up a document about events without needing to take screenshots of everything. So that'll be great in the future. And one of the biggest new features that a lot of people from the older versions of RPG Maker, we really kind of take advantage of that in the older versions. I know, like RPG Maker XP, the version that I used the most in the past, when you started a new project, you got a full database. And when I made the move to RPG Maker MV, it was kind of a culture shock to open that database and see 4 actors, 4 classes, like 3.5 items, and like 8 skills, and like 3 monsters to play with. Like, there was nothing there at all. Now, when you make a new project, it doesn't happen automatically. It's not part of the new project automatic. This is there when you start stuff. But you have the option to pull in a database from the installation folder. This is me, of course, showing it from the Steam version that's installed on my primary computer. The New Data Fantasy English, New Data Fantasy Japanese. I know the Japanese language only works for the Macintosh version of this, so that's a thing, but it's still there for everybody to use the Japanese database if you want. Like, I could type objects in Japanese in this if I wanted to. I'm pretty sure it would take it just fine. But really, all you do, open up your game folder and copy over the data folder from here and let it merge with the data folder here, and you'll get all of the databases, the optional fantasy style database added to your databases. You'll have to reload your project for it to take effect. So save your project before you pull this over. If you've been doing a bunch of mapping and you haven't touched the database at all, save your project ahead of time and then reload your project after you copy it over. And it adds, a fun new little thing. Originally, we had 4 characters: Harold, Teresa, Marcia, and Lucius. We've got 4 more characters added to the list. We've got Frederick, Ilya, Vice, and Eliza. And those of you aware, Harold Teresa, Marcia, and Lucius spelling out HTML, they continued on with that trend with the new 4 to spell out the word 5. So HTML5, everybody. It's an amazing thing. Yay. And with that, gone are the 4 really lackluster classes of before, and in replacement, 8 equally lackluster but at least feature complete classes worthy of being a starter database. Or at least worthy of being a starter database comparable to MV, or comparable to VXAce. And it's kind of almost the exact same database. Some things are named different, but generally it's pretty much all the same stuff. We've got our skills, all neatly organized and separated with some spare space in between certain sections for you to add your own stuff. So I mean, it's there. I mean, even items have been set up. You know, a little bit of spare space at the top. You got your recovery items, some specialty stuff, and some enhancer items. You know, you're basically, you know, your life increase and all of that. You know, some, you know, the good stuff. Your weapon list, no longer does it just have 4 measly, scrawny weapons. We've now got, you know, a whole selection of 8 different weapon types and with different strengths of each one. No super specialty weapons here. You know, all just really basic stuff. Stuff that if you stuck with just this basic database, you could make a game. It's missing a few things, I think, as far as, you know, making a complete game out of this basic database. But, you know, weapons, armor, you know, skills, classes, the actors, they're all there. Those are all there. We are, however, lacking on enemies. We've got the Mimic. The Mimic's cool. That's a cool new one. The Orc is now, you know, there. That's cool. You know, we now got, you know, a Bandit, an Imp, Snake. The Bats are still there. And we've got the Spiders now. Giant freaking rat. You know, the Plant, a Hornet, and of course everybody's favorite, the Slime. You know, and it's not very, you know, it's not very different than what was there before, but, you know, rather than just having 4 enemies, we've got 11 total enemies. I guess the Orc would be your boss monster for this. It's a little bit weak for a boss monster, but there's graphics there still to work with, so, you know, it's not the end of the world. I really wish this was a little bit more feature complete of an enemy database like XP had, where it all went down to an enemy that was very clearly a final boss enemy with the Demon Lord full screen boss like monster thing. Like, it'd be nice to have that kind of stuff back, but for this is, you know, this is better than what we had available before as a starter database. And of course, it's all set up into troops, and, you know, well set up, and that's great. States have been expanded a bit. No longer is it just your basic states, but now we have a few extra set up, you know, from paralyzation and stun to states that definitely give you regeneration effects and the like. So this is really great. It's a great addition to be able to have a starter database with, you know, with options in it to at least get your brain thinking when, you know, when you're starting a new game and you're new to the RPG Maker platform and you've never done this before. Like, this is something that I really wish was there from the beginning, but, you know, better late than never. Continuing, that's the last of the new features. With the update, we've gotten some fixes. I've written them down here. Nothing is really super pressing to talk about there. But fixes are fixes. I'm glad to see them. I hope you're glad to see them. And I'm really hoping that RPG Maker MV really continues to take off and continues to be a great platform for RPG game development in the kind of really super indie and the hobbyist way that RPG Maker has always been. If you're new and this is one of your first videos watching for RPG Maker, I really want to say, stick with it. If making a game is something you want to do seriously or just something you want to do for fun, really stick with it. It's an enjoyable process. Even if it's just something that you want to make for yourself or something you want to make for somebody else, like, stick with it and really go through with it. Like, when you complete your first project, even if it's only a game that takes 20 minutes to complete, a single small quest line with a little town and a little dungeon and a little castle and a small boss fight at the end and a few small bits and bobs here and there, even if it's just something so small, you will feel good completing that small little project, especially after all the time it'll take to do it. I mean, it takes a lot of work to make a game, even in an engine as easy to work with as RPG Maker. It still takes plenty of time. So, good luck with all of your projects. And in the coming weeks and months, I plan to post more videos, possibly some tutorials, maybe just a little bit of BS work where I just sit down and record my session while I work on a small project here in RPG Maker MV. And at the end of those, maybe I'll release the project files with resources stripped out for size constraints and all that, to make it really easy for you guys to download and see exactly what I did. If I do those kind of videos, I'll use as much of the RTP as I can without really going deep into my own resources, so that when I push a project file out to you guys, you can just copy in the RTP resources, load the project, and see and be able to really dig through the project yourself and play with it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, like, subscribe, comment, all that really fun YouTube stuff. If you've got any questions, any suggestions for future video content, please tell me below. I look forward to hearing from people who've watched this. And I'm sorry if this has been a kind of a boring first video. Very little interaction. I mean, I'm not playing with the mouse. I'm not sitting here building a map. I'm not doing anything really fun. I'm talking about the new update for RPG Maker MV, and I thought this would be a great place to start because this dropped this morning before I was actually ready for it. So this is kind of a spur of the moment video for me. My originally planned first video was going to be kind of simple to, here's an introduction to RPG Maker MV, and this is something that I'm doing to share. I was going to do an introductory video and kind of take you all on a tour of MV, the tools, what you can do with it, and stuff like that. And I was going to go through the fact that I've set up some stuff. Yeah, I can actually load the project that I had been working on. I'm hoping against hope, really, that this all is still compatible with the new update. This is the entirety of Yanfly engine plugins. I took the time to put them all into the plugin manager. I've got them all turned off, actually, because this project was supposed to be me setting up a starter project so that the new users of RPGMaker MV would have a place to jump off. Like, see, without the starter database that they added, this is really how small the database was before that. Like 10 states, 4 troops, only 4 enemy types, 4 measly armors and 4 measly weapons, 4 measly items, and only 10 skills. The four classes of hero, warrior, mage, and priest, and they have no skills. Like, warrior doesn't even have any skills. Mage only has fire, and priest only has heal. And for whatever reason, the hero gets heal and spark because he's special. And Harold, Teresa, Marcia, and Lucius, the lovely cast of RPGMaker MV is here, and it's so sad. What I was actually going to do was I was going to take this and I was going to actually take my time, and I was going to go through and build up this database so that it's at least as useful as the starter database from RPGMaker MV or RPGMaker VX. I wanted to kind of give an offering to the community of, here's a starting database, here's a place to start you out. And, well, great job, Kadokawa, great job, Dejisa. You guys beat me to it. If you guys watching think I should still do that, tell me in the comments, and I'll create my own database, and I'll try to make it flavorful and fun and cool. I am trying to do this so that the database and all of the items and stuff aren't constricted to the Yanfly engine plugins and the script tags that the Yanfly engine uses. I wanted to set up that database of Yanfly plugins so that when somebody uses this as the jump off point for their project, if they want to use Yanfly engine, it's already organized, and they can just turn on the components of Yanfly engine that they plan on using. And at the end, when they're ready to really finish and deploy, like, they can just remove the plugins that they're not using and that they don't plan on using. Like, I was really trying to make this as, like, the springboard project. I don't know if I should still do that with this new database thing being a thing. It gives people a larger resource to work with, so I'm kind of on the fence now. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I'm sorry to take up all of this extra time at the end of my video. But again, if you've enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't enjoyed, dislike, comment, subscribe. Maybe I'll catch you with something better later. But this is Isaac the Red of Red Mage Gaming, signing out.